Okay, here we go. We've got Mr. Scott's unwarped perfect fourths guitar fretboard. Sorry, Captain, we've got no power to warp for a time. I know that sounds more like Sulu to me. But so the unwarped is perfect fourths tuning. This is an unwarped diagram. This is an unwarped diagram. This is an unwarped diagram. These are all unwarped diagrams, all of them. Okay, but up here right now, this is just one of those sideways fretboards. You know, it's really a thing of beauty, isn't she? So this is the color pattern that I have, and this is the E fretboard. So but still, if you call E the third, it's the key of C. So the yellow ones would be C. This is a regular fretboard here. Okay, the bottom string is always unwarped. Okay, the bottom 4 strings are always in P4 tuning. This is not in total P4 tuning. This is in regular guitar tuning. So we have the bottom strings would be in P4, and then the top string's been warped up. Okay, so the best way to show you the difference to that is to just grab this right a minute here. Come over here to one of the patterns. Let's say over here, and we'll just draw a little box to put this back in here. I want to show you when you start 3, say we're starting 3 from down here, we got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bottom strings are P4 tuning. Then remember, Mr. Scott, there's no warp in the patterns. So the 7 comes over here because we've got to maintain P4 tuning in the pattern stacks. Okay, because we don't know when we're going to hit that G and B string. That's where the tuning difference occurs between the G and the B, which is a third. Otherwise, between B and E is a fourth, E and A is a fourth, A and D is a fourth, D and G is a fourth, but G and B is a third. So we never know when the pattern's gonna move up to that point, that G and B string. So we draw it all in P4 tuning here. At least I do, and this is how I learned guitar. I taught myself, and by the way, I kind of taught myself piano too. So kind of funky on it. Had to learn, don't hit that dominant all the time unless it's the 5th. So that would be C. Anyway, so I've taught myself guitar, and this is how I do it. So I'd say we do it. This is how we do it in Andy's free guitar chart videos. I'll let you know if it's contrary to what I see as accepted practice. Although I think I've made adjustments to what I call the same thing. Sometimes if there's an ambiguity. However, when I talk about the G string and the B string, I hope you know what I mean. Doesn't matter if it's the 2nd and 3rd from here, or the 1, 2, 3, 4th and 5th from here down the low E. You know what I'm saying? I try to make that clear to people so they don't get mixed up, because I didn't like to be mixed up when I was first trying to learn this stuff myself. So I want to, make it easier for y'all. So let's look. This is our C box, but this is warped. Okay, so what we would have to do to this to make it look the same would be first of all, let's look at what we're looking at. Let's mask out what we're not looking at. So now we have the 3, 6, 2, 5, 7, 3, 3, 6, 2, 5, 7, 3. This is the pattern P4 tuning. This is the way it looks on the guitar once we have the top 2 strings warped to the right 1 fret. So that's the difference. So we see our 7 root 2 3 4 5 is actually directly over the 5 6 here. Okay, so this maintains our tuning third here. So from 5 to 7, okay, it sounds like it is a third. Okay, so we've got 3 to 6, 3 to 6 here. There's a fourth. 6 to 2. There's a fourth. 2 to 5. There's a fourth. 5 to 7. There's a fifth. Sorry, there's the third. And then 7 to 3 would go back to the P4 tuning. Okay, there's the average. So that's what's going on there. Just you know, I like to do a little catch up for people, so that when Mr. Scott says these are P4 tuning and we can't warp at this time, it means they can't be played until we go to the fretboard and warp them. Alright? Now, why is it, if you want to look at it this way, look at it as the bottom 4 strings are the planet and the top 2 strings are the ship. So we're going to warp up to the ship and we're going to warp down to the planet. That kind of thing. So if we're going to play this pattern right here, okay, we're going to start on the 3. We go, let's just do the pentatonic white keys, right? So we go 3, we're on the planet, 3, 5, 6, root, 2, 3, 5, 6. Now we have to take the root 2, 3, 5 and warp it up to the ship again. So we're going to go root 2, 3, 5. Okay, instead of that root 2 being right over the 5. Remember what our 5, 6 was right here on this string. Okay, instead of it being right over it, we had to go over 1 fret. Okay, from the 5. Now the 5 is the open G there. So we had to go up 1 fret diagonally like that. Had to warp up to get that, get on the ship again. Alright, and then, you know, that put us right back here. Alright, where that 5 went to root over here. Now what's with these colors? Well, let's talk about that. The simple name of this chart is chart 258, Arpeggios that transverse the CAGED zones. Okay, so what are the CAGED zones? Here's the CAGED zones. The C zone, the G zone, the D zone, the A zone, and the E zone. Okay? A little worried about up here. When we want to go to the 7L, I'll show you what's going on with the patterns if we get to that. But this has to do with this. These guys down here. Here are the P4 patterns that we need, and the white notes are either triad or minor or half diminished. Okay, that's all, just the 3 of them, and they're in the different CAGED positions. Now don't worry about trying to count them, because I'll tell you why. We have the C and the D in this drawing, so these 2 patterns, the S2C and the S3D, are used interchangeably to get the C and the D CAGED, diatonic. Okay, so diatonic, you play all the numbers regardless of the colors. Where the letters are is actually where the accidentals are, in the key of root, wherever you would start that. So for the C, I'm going to take the capo off. For the C,